One of the main objectives of this version of Dreamweaver has been to declutter the user interface by reorganizing the main toolbars and paring down the number of icons and buttons. At the top of the screen, the document toolbar has been reduced to just 3 buttons: Code, Split and Live. Access to the old design view is still combined with the Live button. It's certainly decluttered, but 3 buttons on a toolbar that spans the full width of the program takes up a lot of screen real estate. If you want to regain that space, you can, but this is one of the few areas where the Windows and Mac versions are different. First, let's talk about Windows. One option is to go to the Window menu, Toolbars, and select Document. Boom, it's gone. It just toggles it off. And with the Document toolbar gone, you need to use the View menu to switch to Code or to Split View, and you can also select the view mode, either Live or Design. And to restore the Document toolbar, go back to the Window menu, Toolbars, and select Document to toggle it back on. The other space-saving option on Windows is to grab hold of the far left side of the Document toolbar. It's a little handle. So if you grab that, hold down the left mouse button and drag away, when you release the mouse button, it turns into a floating panel that you can move to an empty part of the screen, and it's quite a small little panel. Unfortunately, you can't dock it with any other panels. The only place you can dock it is back in its original place at the top. So if you want to do that, grab the handle on the left, drag, move to the top. When you see that blue line, release the mouse button and it snaps back into position. So let's switch to my Mac to see what you can do with the Document toolbar there. On the Mac, there's no real advantage to turning off the Document toolbar by going to Window, Toolbars, and selecting Document. It does turn off the Document toolbar, but you don't save any space, because the Document toolbar occupies the same bar as the Workspace switcher and this Creative Cloud sync icon. The only way to save space, if you want to, is to go to Window, Application Frame, turn that off, and then also turn off the application bar. That's a Mac-only feature, and personally I prefer to use the application frame. So I'm going to restore it, and then also restore the Document toolbar. The other toolbar that's enabled by default is this tall one on the left, and it's the same in both Mac and Windows. It's called the Common toolbar, and it's context sensitive. When the focus is in Live View, it shows only icons that are relevant to Live View, but when the focus moves to Code View, more icons are added. I won't go through all of them, but a couple are worth pointing out. The fourth icon from the top, this one here that looks like 3 lines staggered, that toggles the Visual Media Queries bar. So if I click that, the Visual Media Queries bar disappears. And this was a small but much requested feature, is that Dreamweaver now remembers your preference. This is sticky, so if you turn off the Visual Media Queries bar, it stays turned off even when you open a new document or close and relaunch the program. Another useful icon is the 7th icon from the top. It's visible only when the focus is in Code View, and it applies source formatting to your code. Source formatting now also applies to JavaScript and PHP code, as well as to HTML and CSS. The last icon that looks like 3 dots opens the Customize Toolbar panel. This allows you to remove icons from the common toolbar that you don't use and to add others. There's a total of 20 options to choose from, and although you can add or remove icons, you can't change the order they're displayed in. That's fixed. I'm not going to make any changes, so I'll just click Cancel. There's one other toolbar, the Standard toolbar, which in spite of its name isn't displayed by default. To access it, go to the Window menu, Toolbars, and select Standard. On a Mac, it's always sandwiched between the Related Files bar and the Visual Media Queries bar. There's no option to move it anywhere else. That's completely fixed. On Windows, it's different, so let's switch back to my Windows machine. Let's enable the Standard toolbar on Windows by going to the Window menu, Toolbars, and selecting Standard. On Windows, the standard toolbar is a floating toolbar. You can move it into position by grabbing the handle on the left and dragging, but there are only two places you can dock it. The first one is immediately above the document toolbar. When you see that blue line, just release and it snaps into position, and the other place you can dock it is immediately below the document toolbar. Again, wait till you see that blue line and release. The icons on the left are for common file operations such as new document, save, cut, copy and paste, and over on the right are the address bar, the refresh button and the back and forward buttons that were previously on the document toolbar. Personally, I find this layout rather odd because these items on the right relate to the document window and they feel out of place here over the top of the panel groups. If you want to use the standard toolbar on Windows, my recommendation is to leave it as a floating toolbar. I'm just going to undock it and then position it over the document toolbar. Now I'm recording on a small monitor, so it obscures the code and split buttons, but on my standard monitor it fits perfectly. You can't dock it in this position, but it won't move, and Dreamweaver remembers the position even after closing and relaunching the program. I don't normally use the standard toolbar, so I'm going to turn it off by going back to Window, Toolbars, and selecting Standard to toggle it off. One final point about toolbars: if you're not a fan of the Insert panel, that's over here in the panel group, you can tear it away just by dragging the tab, drag it up towards the top. When you see that blue line, release it, and it's converted into a tabbed toolbar. This is very popular with a lot of developers, but you do need to have a really good memory for all of these icons, or they do have tooltips to help you. To restore this to its normal position, go to the workspace switcher, select Standard and reset Standard, and it jumps back into the panel group. So that's an overview of the revised toolbars in the 2017 release of Dreamweaver CC. The document toolbar has been stripped down to just 3 buttons: Code, Split and Live. The back, forward and refresh buttons and the address bar have been moved from the document toolbar to the standard toolbar, which is hidden by default. The new common toolbar over on the left is context sensitive, hiding code-related icons when the focus is in Live View or Design View, and you can add or remove icons to suit your own workflow. If you're wondering what's happened to the Preview in Browser icon, it's been replaced by Real-Time Preview, and that's the subject of Chapter 3.